8 years ago. I am a native of Nashville, so I had the opportunity to watch it grow from the very small city that it was to now the huge metropolitan area that it's becoming. I went to Maplewood High School, played sports there, very competitive, know a lot of people here, and I spent a lot of time helping a lot of those same people that I grew up with find homes. I ended up in real estate because I was working in a company, a corporate company here doing accounting. I was the last man in, the first man out when the economy changed. So at that point, I made a decision to go ahead and start selling real estate, which is what I always wanted to do. But after I graduated from high school, I went to Fisk University and just kind of went a different path. So now I'm here 8 years later selling real estate and just been helping numerous homeowners, first-time home buyers, people who are selling their homes again, but just pretty much empowering those people to be able to take the next steps into home ownership.
And so you've been involved in real estate for the last 8 years.
Yes.
In Nashville. And you've had an opportunity, I would imagine, to watch Nashville grow. And I would imagine as a realtor, you can say something about the growth of Nashville and how it fits into your market and how you're trying to use the growth of Nashville as part of your market.
Well, the growth of the growth of Nashville has happened rather quickly. You have homes, and you can't truly live anywhere close to town for less than $275,000, and that's on the east side of town. Everything else is pretty much skyrocketed. I've had a lot of clients who have been moving out to the suburb areas, more like Hendersonville. You have Shelbyville, Eagleville, not Bellevue, Pegram, Cheatham County, different areas because the prices have gotten so high in the Nashville area, which is due to the gentrification that's going on, and it's affecting a lot of people. Some people positively, some people negatively, but it's just, as a whole, you want to just make sure that you're working with the agent that can help you walk through the process and put you in something that's going to work for your family and your lifestyle.
I think we've said quite a bit about Nashville's growth, and you talk about the impact that this is having on some of your clients from a positive point of view as well as from a negative point of view. Let's look at, during this segment, some of those views in reference to what are some of the negative things in reference you finding out that your clients will talk about dealing with the expanding real estate industry in Nashville, and what are some of the positive things that they will talk about?
Some of the negative things that I've seen is sellers. You'll live in East Nashville, you sell your home for maybe $250,000, and you cannot afford to live anywhere near where you currently live or to live in anything the size of what you currently live in. I have a client who wants to sell a 2,300 square foot house, they'll have to move into something 1,300 square feet that'll be in the same price range of what they're wanting to stay in. So the affordability of things, and just not really what they can afford, but what they want to pay. Because in mortgages, sometimes you're approved for more than you want to pay for your monthly payment. So it's just about staying comfortable in that space, and that's where a lot of people are having a problem.
But if they are now in a house in one of these areas that's growing with gentrification and et cetera, what are some of their prospects in terms of how they sell that house, and what are some of the advantages of them selling?
The advantages?
Yeah.
I know there are a lot of companies going around purchasing their homes due to tax prices. I have a lot of clients call me, hey, they want to offer me this price for my taxes, and they'll pay me cash. And to someone who's older and whose home is paid off, $85,000, $100,000 is a lot of money to them. And I sometimes feel like they've been taken advantage of. If they just do it that way, I think they should speak with the realtor, because their homes are they're worth a lot more than they're thinking they're worth.
So you do think that there are a large number of folks who are ready to sell their house, but and we'll talk about that when we come back. And we'll be back with you following this very, very short commercial break. Kesa. Thank you and welcome back to the second segment of the show for today. We're talking to Ms. Kesa Fowler. Now, Ms. Fowler, during this second segment, we've got about 8 minutes. And let's talk about first-time home buyers in Nashville, some of the advantages and some of the disadvantages in terms of your perspective in terms of dealing with first-time home buyers.
Okay, well, what I'm seeing with a lot of first-time home buyers is they're getting off track sometimes because they're thinking that renting is the best thing to do. They're paying upwards sometimes of $1,500 to rent a home, and you can have a very nice house that you're paying a mortgage for. You're actually paying somebody else's mortgage when you're renting. So it's not as hard as they think it is to get pre-approved. A lot of people are using a lot of different credit programs to look at their credit, and the easiest way for them to go ahead and find out what they qualify for is to reach out to a lender. And if they don't have a lender, of course, to reach out to an agent as myself or someone else that they trust that can get them in the right hands so they could go ahead and start working on what they need to pay off.
It's a serious business when you get ready to sell a house. Is that what you're saying?
It's very serious. It's very serious. It's a legal binding contract when you decide to purchase a house. Everything in that contract you can be sued for if you do not perform what you're saying you're going to do. Of course, being a homeowner is like the American dream, and it's kind of changing because the prices in Nashville have become so high in terms of some people's affordability that they're having to move to the outskirts of town. You have Clarksville's and just different areas that are cheaper, but they're moving those. The people are having to move out there due to just prices and what they can afford comfortably.
A person who had a nice home in one area will move to another area, perhaps get more money for that home than ordinarily, and move to another area, but still cannot replicate that first home in that second area that they moved to. Is that a problem with them?
Well, they could replicate the home oftentimes, but they have to move 45 minutes away from Nashville to even get something equivalent to what they had for a good price. And you're right, they are getting more money than they would normally get, maybe $250,000, $300,000 for a home that they paid $80,000, $100,000 for years ago. So they have a huge surplus, but where do they go once they sell?
And if they want to replicate that in terms of getting the same quality of the house that they sold and left, they have to pay more money when they move. Is that?
They're going to either pay more money to live close, or they're going to have to go about 45 minutes to 50 minutes outside of that area and just get a new comfort zone in terms of new area.
And so do you find that there are many folks who make that choice in terms of their movement, and what are some of the consequences of some of those choices that they make?
I've seen people make that choice and they've moved. I haven't had anybody come to me with any consequences. They've actually been happy with their move because most people that are selling, they're just wanting to sell, and they have, like I said, find a new comfort zone. Your house is your comfort zone, is your everything. So it's hard sometimes to get sellers to change their minds on places that are comfortable for them because they know where they live. They've lived there for numerous years and they don't want to be anywhere else. So, yeah.
And so you find that when they do sell, they get a good price, but they can't replicate that house with that same amount of money in the area where they sold. No. And so it seems that the most important thing is central location. What does that mean in terms of housing and the houses that you're dealing with, located around the center city area?
What does that mean in terms of the central location? Well, it's just not happening. Even once you sell $300,000, you're not going to get what you want in your area most of the time. It's just not going to happen.
And so individuals, you would advise individuals who wish to sell to think in terms of the comfort zone, I think you indicated, in terms of what they are going to receive if the idea is to sell and rebuild. What about those individuals who sell with the intention of having a large amount of money, but not only can they not afford housing, but they have other things that they now have to call upon in terms of using the cash that they had? Can they survive for a long time with the money that they pay for that first house without buying a comparable house?
You said, can they survive? That just depends on how they go about dispersing that money. I would definitely encourage them to get somebody to help them manage that type of money if they have never had that kind of money before. They can buy in different areas. I'm not going to say they can't buy in their area. No, they can qualify for a loan oftentimes and then use the remainder as a payment of overage. But it is a lot higher than what they were used to paying before in those particular areas.
Well, and what do you find in reference to some of the issues dealing with the homeless population and which people move in and out of these areas? There's nothing for you in terms of dealing with the homeless population, but is there anything within the real estate area that deals with, that tries to accommodate people who have been moved out of these houses?
Not to my knowledge, no. I'm not aware of anything like that. I know that our homeless population is truly growing and will continue to grow as the prices become higher because the average person doesn't make enough money to qualify for a $300,000 home. I think read that we need $70,000 a year to live comfortably in the new Nashville that we live in now. And a lot of people don't make $70,000 a year.
And so the average, you might say the average is about $70,000 a year to live in and around comfortably in the state. And those who can't afford that might have a house there, but once they receive that money, that's all that they have in reference to the house. They can't replicate that, and more than likely their comfort, I think you call it the comfort zone, has diminished. Is that what you find?
Well, oftentimes they find a new comfort zone, a new area to start to love and to adopt because that's where the homes are priced where they want to live and what they want to pay, not where they want to live, but what they want to pay. In certain areas, you still can get a nice home, a nice yard, different things like that. In Nashville, you're going to get a really nice house, but you're not going to get much space. But it's growing, it's beautiful, and it's working.
And so you deal primarily with home buyers, people who wish to buy homes, and you're a home seller. You sell houses in a real sense, and so people that are looking for a house would come to you, and you would have an opportunity to show them where they could do, what would be the best advantage, and et cetera. Is that what we'll do? And we'll talk about that later when we come back to the second section. And we'll be back with you following this very, very short break.